DFW, you are live with On Point with JP and Dr. B. Dr. B, it's a glorious morning out there. Good morning to you.
Good morning, JP. It is a great morning out there.
Well, I'll tell you what, God has given us the gift of water, and I can tell you that we've needed it up until about now.
Yes, we have.
We're a little soggy here in the Dallas-Fort Worth
little
area.
Soggy, but you know what? I am thankful for the water. Yes, sir.
Yes, indeed. You know, it's funny. It was funny today. We were talking with Callie. Mustang Callie is back in studio after her accident, and she has got some new wheels, some Hot Wheels, as I like to call them. Are they excited?
Yes, I'm so excited.
I think is it a bright red sports car Kia Hyundai thing?
It's a bright red Kia Rio, and I love it. She's my baby.
Kia Rio.
Have you named it yet?
Well, Jake has a name for it, but I don't know if I like it yet. He said it looks like a Freya.
A Freya.
Freya.
Wow. Well, I've got to introduce. Dr. Norm Clothier is in studio with us, and I've got to introduce him because I know he's got something to say about this.
I'd be a little afraid to name that car that.
Yeah, I would be too. A little afraid. Well, folks, if you remember right, last Monday we talked about men's health. This is Men's Health Month. It's No Shave November, and I think Dr. B violated the No Shave November rule of thumb. Looks like he has shaved.
Well, I still have the goatee, the mustache.
Oh, the mustache.
Maybe he plucked. Maybe he
Oh,
didn't shave.
he plucked.
Yeah.
Wow, Dr. Clothier, you said plucked at 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if that's any good. I'm not running with that.
That's right.
That's not good.
It sounds painful.
It does, doesn't it? I'll tell you what, I'll go with shave. But we talked men's health. Last week we talked prostate cancer. We received a couple questions. We will hit those questions at the end of the segment, so stay tuned for the answers to those questions. And we appreciate your questions. Keep sending them in to jpanddrb.com, or you can go on our Facebook page at JP and Dr. B or John Edward Payton, and you can send us those questions. We also want to thank all of our listeners because we actually have, Dr. B, about 9 or 10 more stories that have come in over the weekend on the darndest things kids said. And so we'll revisit that on Thursday again, or no, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We'll revisit that just because they're funny. I mean, these are some crazy stories that kids have said. And so we'll cover that. So thank you for doing that. That means people are actually tuning in, which is kind of exciting because people actually are listening to you.
You mean people listen?
Yes.
It's not just us?
Not just us listening.
Wow.
I know. My mom is not the only one listening. And so, but I'm excited to jump into today's topic. Today we're going to talk men's health again because November is Men's Health Month. And we're going to talk cholesterol and we're going to talk the heart. The nice thing is that we've already received a couple of questions from some of our listeners about cholesterol last week because they were worried about my diet and thought that maybe the way I was eating now may cause more cholesterol. And so we're going to talk about that today. Yeah, so I'm kind of excited that. So Scott, thank you for sending in those questions last week about cholesterol. Then in the second part of the show from the 6:30 hour on, we're going to talk about what kind of exercising am I doing? Because again, a lot of questions have come in. How are you exercising? What kind of exercises do you do? How did you start exercising at 477 pounds when it would seem almost impossible to do so, but we actually were in the gym. And so we'll talk about that as well. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I'd like to thank Dr. Norm Clothier for joining us today. And Dr. Clothier is, you're with Family Richardson.
Yeah, Family Healthcare Associates. I happen to be at the Richardson office, but yeah, we go by FHCA to ourselves at least, Family Healthcare Associates. So our website is fhcatx.com. And I happen to be at the corner of Renner and 190 at one of our offices. So we have offices through the Metroplex.
All right, and so go to their website, visit their website, and you can find a location near you. Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Clothier, let's talk cholesterol. What on earth is cholesterol?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. It's actually a hormone structured type product to the body that we have to live with cholesterol. We can't live without cholesterol. The problem is too much of a good thing can be too much, and too much cholesterol can build up plaque in the arteries, and of course then cause heart disease, kidney disease, stroke risk, all kinds of things. You may even know people who've lost circulation to their legs and have to have a bypass surgery to the legs or angioplasty. I mean, it affects blood vessels in general. Now, 1 in 5 men die of heart disease, and that's a pretty shocking figure. That's the leading cause of death in men. So at a 20% lifetime risk, if you're male, of dying of heart disease, it's a big issue to people.
So, Dr. Clothier, if cholesterol is a hormone, then do we regulate it by genetics? Do we regulate it by diet? I mean, I
Yes,
know
great question. And I appreciate the question you received last week about cholesterol levels going up if you eat more meats or eggs and cheese, and that's been a big talk. If you through the years, if you think back to about 30 years ago, really, it's about the time we had a cholesterol test come out, and we were able to measure the types too within years. And that involves the so-called good cholesterol, HDL, which is favorable, which goes up with exercise. Some people are blessed with a good genetic one. Get back to that here in a minute. LDL is the bad cholesterol that we know forms plaque. And then total cholesterol is all the types of cholesterol put together. So we often talk about total cholesterol being under 200 being favorable. But you want your HDL over 40 if you're a man and over 50 if you're a woman. I guess I can't talk about women's health this month.
Yeah, no, not this month.
Yeah.
It's Men's Health Month.
And then you want your LDL under 100. Now, the brief history of that is several years ago, in about 2001, under 160 was considered normal for an LDL. Then they reduced it, they being a national panel of experts, to 130. And then by about 2008, that standard was reduced to 100 or less. So where you might have had normal cholesterol a year before, if it was, say, 129, the next year we'd say under 100 was a problem. And that's partly because we have evolving research that shows levels are very valuable to know and very important. Now, getting back to your question about genetics, it is far more genetic and actually body size related than it is intake related. And about 15 years ago, it became a trend to eat low-fat diets, and everybody replaced that with sugar. Basically, food makers put in high fructose corn syrup instead of fatty molecules. You know, we try to get away from eggs and meat and cheese, and eating any animal product contains cholesterol. But it's far more your genetic risk and actually your body size that are issues than it is the intake side.
So the intake with the meat and eggs then is really not that big of a deal.
Right. The key is still enough moderation that you can reduce your weight closer to your normal body weight. So in other words, if you eat a ton of eggs and meat and cheese, and especially if it's sort of the fair style, fried and on a stick, and added sugars with that, added other processed chemicals and such, that's a much higher risk. But if you moderately eat things to the point, like Judge Payton is losing weight, then that's the very favorable way to do it. If you can reduce sugars, reduce some carbohydrates, and reduce your overall body size, and then deal with your genetic risk too.
So right now, men are supposed to have under 100 for the
Right.
HDL?
Actually, that's LDL, the bad cholesterol. We want over 40 on HDL. So there's a number that I remember reading several years ago that's fairly shocking, because we talk about cholesterol being under 200 total being favorable. And I read that the average male with a heart attack had cholesterol 216. That's 216. If you think about that, that's only 16 points above the goal. That doesn't give you much of a range. But the issue largely too is the ratio. So if you have a total cholesterol 200 and HDL, the favorable cholesterol 40, that gives you a ratio of 5 if you divide that out, 200 divided by 40. You want that ratio under 5. And so if you have a total cholesterol of 180 and an HDL 40, then you're under that ratio. You're at about 4.5, and that's favorable.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, stay tuned. We have just been given the 2-minute warning. I feel like I'm on Sunday football or Monday Night Football, and we've got our quarterback in studio, Dr. Norm Clothier, helping us out with cholesterol. Cholesterol is one of those things that you can't see. I know that when I go into Dr. Clothier's office, because Dr. Clothier is actually my doctor, and love going to his clinic because it also has after hours where I can go and I'm not stuck at a Care Now, or I call them docs in the box. And so it's nice to be able to go in and see my regular doctor's office, even though it may not be him that night. But on the walls, every once in a while in one of the rooms, they'll have a picture or a poster or something, or a magazine where it shows what cholesterol looks like. And it just looks like this little yellow bead kind of running around your body. And you think nothing of it, but this thing can build up and cause problems. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how cholesterol builds up. But also, I've got a question about the new science that supposedly has been released, and we'll see if Dr. Clothier can talk a little bit about that, more about the genetic side of cholesterol. And then I'm going to also ask him about medication. I have been told here recently in the medical profession that there are some that believe that the medication does nothing more than mask the cholesterol numbers, that they may not really be helping at all. So we'll cover some of that because that's got to be a little bit controversial, I'd imagine, Dr. Clothier.
There's plenty of controversy there.
All right,
no doubt.
so stay tuned as we come back with Dr. Norm Clothier and we talk men's health here on Point with JP and Dr. B. Well, good morning. It's JP and
Dr.
B. And we are here bringing you men's health this month. It is November No Shave. Of course, as you can see, Dr. B shaved. Shame on him. Dr. Clothier and I, we don't participate in that because the people we deal with will think we're criminals or we're not practicing medicine right. And so we don't want to wear beards when we're doing our job. And so sadly, we have to shave. But I think a counselor looks pretty good in a beard and is kind of calming with one of those sweaters.
Well, there you go. I got to get me a new cardigan, so I really look right.
New cardigan.
But I spoke at the Warren Center on Saturday. My wife said I needed to clean up before I went and spoke to them, so I did.
And now, how did it go at the Warren Center? And what did you talk about?
I talked about reducing stress for parents of special needs children, especially around the holidays. So.
Now, and where can they get a hold of you, Dr. B, if we need to get into some counseling, especially after we deal with Mustang Callie and our new intern, Malaysia, behind the camera?
Yeah.
I mean, good God, I need some counseling.
New Directions Counseling, or www.newdirectionscounseling.com, and 972-680-8986, and call, and we'll fix you up.
All right, so we're going to go outside and see if we can get in trouble again for being too loud. But first, we're going to walk over and say hi to Action Jackson. So come on, Malaysia, let's go and take the folks on a tour and see the radio station. Even though it's really dark outside, they claim that they're doing work over behind this black screen. Come on, I'll show you. Look at this. When we become big time, I think we get our own black felt that we can tape up to the window. That's way cool. So over here, the way you get to hear it on the radio is right in that booth with Action Jackson. This is how it all happens right here. And that's Action Jackson. He tries to make it all happen. And this is the board.
My beautiful board console.
Beautiful board console. This is like a fine wine, or as one other board operator told me, a fine lady that needs to be taken care of very, very well. Now, I don't know about a fine lady thing, but...
and be careful how you touch her.
And you got to be careful how you touch her, because evidently you can offend the board, and that happened to us on one Tuesday night where we didn't get to have a show at all, because they ran random commercials throughout the entire show. So, do touch her nicely. And when you call in to win a prize, it's that phone right there. It's the mystery phone. That is our bat phone. Can you get a picture of our bat phone? All right, so come on, let's go. Let's take a tour. Oh, by the way, here is the fish bowl that we get to be in. Can you see the reflection on the window?
1 minute.
Oh, how depressing. We have 1 minute. Let's go over and let's invade Mark Davis and see what he's doing and see if we can make him mad. Oh. Doesn't look like anybody's even in there. They must have done a pre-recorded show. Come on, let's walk this way. You know, again, yeah. Okay. See, this. Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm going to turn the light on. Is that okay?
That's all right.
See, this, for some reason, is the green room. Now, I don't know why they really call it a green room. It's more like an avocado room because it looks like kind of an avocado. And it's got a lot of pictures on it. I would think an avocado wouldn't have a lot of pictures on it, but it does. And this is where you come and you sit. And they provide you with refreshments here at KEXB. All the water you can drink. Would you like a bottle of water?
Sure.
All right, over here. We have a taker.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Malaysia, would you like a bottle of water? No, but I think JP would. I'll take one just in case somebody else. So we've got to go get back inside the studio because the music about to start and Dr. B is still asleep. So we want to make sure that we don't leave him stranded.
It's back with On Point
bring
with
us back.
JP and Dr. B. And we welcome you on this bright sunny morning. At least it's sunny somewhere up above the clouds. We're glad to have you here. We have in studio with us Dr. Norm Clothier and, of course, Mustang.